And thank you again for joining our second class. Our first class, if this is your first class joining, we talked last week about what is mindfulness, why it matters, what is resiliency, how it applies to stress and our stress management in our lives. And today we're shifting our focus to focus on really a facet of mindfulness, and that's known as gratitude. And so we're going to look at the science behind gratitude, why it's important. We may have a kind of an understanding of what being grateful is, and when someone's grateful to you or when someone's ungrateful to you. But we'll take a deeper dive into that gratitude. So when we look specifically at today, we're going to try to gain a better understanding of what gratitude is and what it means. Like I said, you probably have a pretty good concept, but it goes a little bit deeper than just that surface level. We'll also look at what the science says behind gratitude. So what does the research tell us? We'll look at some different case studies that have been done and look at how gratitude can really benefit our health and our lives. And then we're going to learn how to apply daily gratitude in our lives. So we'll look at different practices we can take, different avenues we can do to really practice this gratitude. And as I mentioned in the first class, I'm going to be asking you all to keep a daily gratitude journal. So just something that you can keep, that you can make little journal entries in. If you have an old notebook that you need to find some use for, or you have your own journal, something of that sort, just one succinct place that you can keep all your journal entries. I'll go into what I'm expecting from those journal entries. Again, it's going to be confidential. You're not going to be asked to turn it in. But to really reap those full benefits of gratitude, I do ask that you keep up with your daily gratitude journal. And I'll go over exactly what I'm expecting, what type of journal entries at the end of this class. But now I'm going to turn to a bag of potatoes. And you probably are wondering, why are there potatoes on my screen? And it's not just because it's lunchtime. I'm going to tell you a story that really gets at the heart of today's lesson. And this story has been passed down generations and generations. Its roots go all the way back into ancient China in the Taoist philosophy, but it's been more modernized today to really apply to our lives today. So all I really need you to do now, make sure you're comfortable just listening and engaged and being mindful in the present moment. You can close your eyes if you prefer. And today, when I mention the word or the name student or students, just envision yourself in those shoes. So that's really all you really have to do. Just listen and get the take-home message. All right, so let's go. A high school teacher told her students to bring to school a clear bag and a sack of potatoes. The students are asked to think of all the people who have wronged them, every person that they have judged, every person they could not accept, and every person that have wronged them. The names of these people were to be each written on a potato and put into their clear bag. Now, most of the students at the end of this had bags that were full and overflowing. They were instructed to carry that bag everywhere with them for at least 1 week, including taking it into their bed at night. They were never to leave the bag, let the bag out of their sight. By the end of the week, the students were sick to death of their bag and potatoes. It was annoying having to lug it around everywhere. The potatoes started to fester, go moldy and stinky. The bags were heavy and awkward, and it weighed the students down and made them miserable. The teacher told the students the significance of carrying the potatoes. It was a way to understand the price we pay for holding on to our resentment. Fortunately, at the end of the week, the teacher told each student that if they forgave the person whose name is inscribed on the potato, they could remove it from the bag. The lightness, relief, and freedom at doing so was only a taste of what they could feel of letting go of the resentment that each potato represented. However, the teacher then asked the students if during that week there was anyone new who transgressed against them and they were holding a grudge against. Reluctantly, the students started to panic and admitted that there were others and realized the bag of potatoes would once again get full. They asked the teacher, if we continue like this, wouldn't there always be more potatoes at the end of each week? The teacher responded, yes, as long as people speak or act against you in some way, you will always have some potatoes. The students groaned. We can never control what others do, so what good is this? Then the teacher told them the hidden meaning behind the game they play. If the potatoes are negative feelings, then the bag is that which allows you to hold on to those negative feelings. Let go of the bag and you can let go of this burden. The teacher said this is exactly the situation when you carry hatred for somebody in your heart. The stench of hatred will contaminate your heart and you will carry it with you wherever you go. If you cannot tolerate the smell of rotten potatoes for just 1 week, especially those of you who had plenty of potatoes to carry, can you imagine what it is like to have the stench of hatred in your heart for a lifetime? The hassle of lugging the bag around with them made it clear what a weight they were carrying around spiritually and how they had to pay attention to it all the time. Naturally, the conditions of the potatoes deteriorated to a nasty, smelly slime. This was a great metaphor for the price we pay for keeping our pain and heavy negativity. Too often, we think of forgiveness as a gift to the other person, and clearly it is for ourselves. Forgiving someone and being grateful can be one of the most exhilarating experiences of your life. I love telling that story because it really hits home to the emotional baggage that we carry. Remember, I talked about in that first class, those negative, how we tend to stew in our negative experiences and we ruminate over our negative thoughts over and over again. And it doesn't create anything positive. We're carrying that weight. No one's carrying it for us. So when we let go of our ego of people wronging us and we can insert more gratitude into our life, you'll see that these potatoes and the ego that carries them around is no longer there. And so that really gets that home to the message today, because ultimately we all want to be happy, right? I mean, I think everyone would agree that we want to be happy. So why do we want to be happy, and what kind of qualities do happy people possess? Well, for some of you that may know, Sonia Lubomirsky did a study, and she is the author of The How of Happiness, and looked at the qualities that the happy people have. So happy people, first of all, are more productive at work. Any of us have got to work and we're stressed, we didn't get a good night's sleep, we may be angry about something. We're not able to focus on our work as well. We're quick to overreact. We get irritated easily. So happy people overall, more productive at work. Happy people also make better leaders. Think about the significant and prominent leaders in your life, whether it be a teacher, a mentor, a supervisor, a parental figure, whoever it may be. Those people, would you describe them as negative or happy? The ones that truly had a positive impact on your life. So happy people tend to make better leaders. Happy people are also less likely to get a divorce. Now, this isn't a catch-all. There's a lot of factors that can go into a divorce. But overall, happy people, less likely to get a divorce. Happy people also have stronger immune systems. So as I mentioned before in the first class, I consider mindfulness to be a whole health, whole body approach. So when you really grasp at mindfulness and look at it, it's more than just that mental health aspect. Happy people are also more resilient. So overall, remember, resiliency is that bounce back quality, being able to actually take a situation that may be a roadblock in their life and use it for a productive stepping stone to something more positive. So happy people, more resilient. Remember, resilient people also face trauma, tragedy, and strife in their life. It's not that they don't have that or there's an absence of that in their life. It's that they adapt to it. They're able to bounce back. They're able to use it as stepping stones for something more positive. And happy people also live in the present moment. Too often we think about and worry about stuff that's may or may not happen in the future, or something that we did in the past, or something that happened in the past that no one else is thinking about but ourselves. We tend to be our own biggest critics and always think about the worst thing that can happen. But living in the present moment takes that out of there. And lastly, happy people are more comfortable expressing gratitude, which is really the core concept in today's class. Why do we want to express gratitude? What is it that makes us able to express gratitude, and why is it important? But first, let's look at what makes us happy. So does money make us happier? So a lot of you will probably say, yes, Nick, if you gave me a lump sum of money right now, I would be pretty happy. And you probably would be. But what we find out is that tends to be short term. So in the study here, they asked people who are making $30,000 a year how much money you would take for you to be happy. And what they asked is people that were making 30,000 on average, they said at least $50,000 a year. If I'm making $50,000 a year, 20,000 more than I'm making right now, I would be happy. But then they turned around and asked that a new set of people making $100,000 a year, those same questions, how much would it take for you to be happy? They said 250,000. Now, those of us not making those six figures may think that's ridiculous, but the take home message here is that no matter how much you make, no matter how much you make, even if you get a promotion and you get a little bit of a raise, sooner down the line, you're gonna want more. So the idea is no matter how much we have, it's human nature for us to desire more. Okay, so money may not make us happy. What about stuff? Does stuff make us happier? So what I want you to do just right now in your own mind, fill in this blank. If I had that new blank, I'd be happy. Maybe it'd be that new car, that new iPhone, that new outfit, that new watch, that house. If I had that new blank, I'd be happy. And so researchers looked at this. They asked 20,000 freshmen in 1976 how much they wanted nice things, whether it's a car, outfit, whatever it may be. And then 20 years later, they asked those same people about those materialistic things. And what the researchers found is that the materialistic individuals, those that value those materialistic things more, they had a lower life satisfaction and had more mental health disorders. So not only does stuff not make us happy long term, you could even argue that it has the potential to be damaging on our health if we value stuff or materialistic things more. So we know money doesn't make us happy long term. We know stuff doesn't make us happy long term, but why is that? Why does it not help us long term? Why does it not help us be happy long term? And it's this idea of hedonic adaptation, or this concept that we grow used to or adapt to our positive and negative experiences. So the idea here is we're always striving for more. It's in our human nature to want more. We may have enough, but we still want more. So our happiness and satisfaction then are not permanent. And what we end up doing is getting caught, if you look on the right-hand side of your screen, in this cycle or this loop known as the hedonic treadmill. So for instance, right now, think about a new iPhone. The new iPhone just came out. Say you want that. So you desire, at the top of that treadmill, you're desiring that new iPhone. So what do? You strive to get it. You save a little each paycheck. You maybe trade in your old phone to make it a little bit more, a little easier to afford those payments. And eventually you obtain that iPhone. And so what happens here is you start to attain it, and then you enjoy it. You talk about all its features. Oh, it has this, that, and the other. And eventually you adapt to it. So think about the iPhone or the phone that you have now. It's not the same. It's not the same feeling that you had when you first got it, right? So you adapt to it. And then what happens is you desire more. You desire the next best thing or the next thing. And you just caught in this cycle. So I see some people saying they still see that got it on my screen. Give me 1 second. I clicked it, but I guess it's still showing up for y'all. So let me reshare. All right, is it gone now? Or is it still up there? All right, hold on. So it should be gone. Is it? You can still see it? I'm not sure why. There is nothing on my screen.
Yeah, I'm able to see it, Nick. I'm not sure. I don't know. I wish I had.
All right, let me. I'm gonna leave and then join back and then see if that stops it. All right, is it still up there, y'all?
You see
Okay,
David on a
perfect.
treadmill.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry about that. So yeah, this idea of hedonic adaptation, remember we grow used to or adapt to our positive and negative experiences. So the idea here is we're always striving for more, and advertisers, think of how companies and advertisers use this to their advantage. Do we really need that new iPhone? Doesn't our phone that we currently have more often than not satisfy our needs, does everything that we need it to do? We probably don't need that new phone every year, but they sell you on this idea that this new and advanced product, if you don't get it, you're going to be missing out on something. So they're really using this hedonic adaptation to their advantage. So how do we really get out of this treadmill, right? You don't want to desire, strive, obtain, enjoy, and you get used to it, and then all you're doing is desiring more. So how do we step out of that? How do we get out of this cycle? And the strategy there is to savor the moment. So savoring is the act of stepping outside of an experience to review and appreciate it. So that helps us keep us in the moment. We have an increased appreciation of things when we truly are living in the moment and savoring each moment. It also increases our gratitude and boosts our mood. We all want to be happy. We all want to be grateful. We want to appreciate. We want to live in the moment. So savoring those moments, being mindful in the present moment, helps us remember the good things in our lives. So how do we increase our savoring? Well, Paul et al. Completed a study to look at how savoring increases our happiness and what we can do to savor more. What they found is staying in the present moment increases our savoring. So being mindful, living in the now, and valuing the moment. Also sharing the moment with others, either at the time or later, which I love. So if you're enjoying a moment with someone and you have those people around you that you know and you're sharing that experience, that helps you savor more. But even if you're on your own or you're with strangers that you can't particularly savor the moments with, even if you tell someone, your loved ones later about the experience, even if they weren't there, that helps you savor that moment. That helps you increase that savoring and get out of that desire for wanting more in the future. Also thinking about how lucky you are. Being positive also increases it. So often we tend to be our own biggest critics, and that can lead us down a negative thought process, and we get too down on ourselves. Right? Be proud of yourself. It's okay to be happy. And this is one of my favorites, laughing increases savoring. Can you recall the moments in your life because of how big of a laugh they gave you or others? What were you thinking of? Were you thinking about something in the past or the future? No, if you're fully engaged in a full belly laugh, you're only thinking about what's going on right there. You're truly savoring that moment, and you're living in that present moment. So while all these ideas here increase our savoring, there's also things that could decrease our savoring. So staying in the present moment increases it. Obviously, thinking about the past and the future decreases it. We constantly are worrying about the past and future or how this moment is going to come to an end anyway. Remember how I said the sources of our stress can be internal, and setting those lofty and unattainable expectations can lead to that source of stress for us. Well, that also decreases our savoring. Have you ever had the negative self-talk also, being let down by our expectations, thinking it will never be this good again, telling yourself you don't deserve this? Have we ever had something good happen to us, but we feel this pain and guilt for even feeling happy about it? Thinking either, hey, we don't deserve this, or something bad will happen soon anyway, so this moment won't last. It's ironic that we think this way when something good happens. We tend to think that this is going to be the end. It doesn't matter. Something bad's going to happen anyway. It's going to end. But when we get bogged down in the negative, we love to stew in it. We love to just marinate in that negativity. We don't think, hey, this is going to end. Something great's going to happen soon. We just tend to stew in that negative thought process. So when good things happen, learn to save them. Learn to be positive. Learn to actually savor those positive moments and understand that the negative moments won't last. But that shifts us towards being grateful. And you saw the happiness and savoring and all that can lead to being grateful. And Dr. David Steindl Ross said, gratefulness is the key to a happy life that we hold in our hands. Because if we are not grateful, then no matter how much we have, we will not be happy because we will always want to have something else or something more. Remember that hedonic adaptation, always desiring something beyond what we already have. So what is gratitude? Well, Robert Eamon speaks about the two components of gratitude and what they mean. Now, the first one you're probably pretty familiar with, and that's appreciation. And this is something that is valuable to you, but that does not have to do with its monetary worth. Now, that doesn't mean it can't have significant monetary worth or be worth a lot of money, only that it's not the reason for your appreciation of it. Now, you recognize that value and what it means to you. So Eamon states that it's an affirmation of goodness. We affirm that there are good things in this world, gifts and benefits that we've received. The second component of gratitude is this idea of gratitude, or something that is freely given to you. So Eamon explains that we recognize that the sources of this goodness are outside of ourselves. We acknowledge that other people gave us many gifts, big and small, to help us achieve the goodness in our life. So in total, it is affirming that we receive something, whether it be tangible, an act, or a moment, or a gesture, that we appreciate outside of its monetary value, and that we acknowledge that this goodness came from somewhere outside of ourselves. Now, Angela Arian who wrote Living in Gratitude, said this: gratitude is a feeling that spontaneously emerges from within. However, it is not simply an emotional response. It is also a choice that we make. We can choose to be grateful or we can choose to be ungrateful, to take our gifts and blessings for granted. As a choice, gratitude is an attitude or a disposition. We have the power to choose to be grateful. There's a lot of things that are not within our control. Gratitude is not one of them. We can control gratitude. We can choose to be grateful, and that can lead to positive changes in our life. So let's look at why and what positive changes it can bring. So as I mentioned, Eamons in the definition in the previous slide, this is a study by Eamons and McCullough in 2003. And in this study, participants were randomly assigned to 3 different groups. It was either a gratitude group, a hassle group, or an events group. Your events were your control group. So in each group, each participant was asked to write out 5 items that occurred the past week for their respective group. So for the gratitude group, they were asked to recall 5 things for which they were grateful for in the last week. The hassle group asked to write down 5 negative experiences or problems or burdens that they faced in the last week. And then the events group were asked just to recall 5 things that occurred, neither positive nor negative, just 5 things. And what they found out at the end of the study is that those in the gratitude group had a higher life satisfaction, were happier. They were more optimistic for the upcoming week. They had increased physical symptoms and increased physical activity, up to an extra hour each week of exercise. So those in the gratitude group, not only, like I said, were happier, had more optimism, had the mental health attributes, they saw increased physical symptoms and increased physical activity as well. So being grateful, just recalling things over a week period of time where you were able to see these results. So how do we do this? We want to be mindful in our gratitude. So how often do we think someone should have thanked us for something and we don't receive that appreciation? What are you feeling? How do you feel when you go out of your way to help someone and they don't even give you the courtesy of a thank you? You feel pretty bad, right? Feels like I just did all this. I went out of my way to help you with something and you can't even give me a thanks. Or to me, even worse than that is when they give you a passing thank you. Where, it's just, they don't even look you in the eye. They're too busy doing whatever they're doing and they don't thank you. They just say thanks. But you just went out of your way to do something for them. Now I'm going to reverse that. We're probably guilty of it as well. How many times have people done something for us, but we haven't thanked them, or we didn't give the proper gratitude? They may have put in a lot of effort, and although we may not realize it because our mind's racing in 20 different places, and we're not engaged in our conversations. So observe your interactions and conversations. Really be attentive in the conversations and your interactions with people in your day-to-day. Also listen to understand and not reply. Oftentimes when we're having conversations, we already think about the next thing we're going to say before the person is finished talking. And when we do that, we're already crafting a response and we're tuning out what they're saying. And so that leads to the final strategy, which is to practice. The more you practice gratitude, the more you practice mindfulness, the more it'll become a ritual and become a habit. Brushing your teeth is a habit. So is mindfulness and gratitude. Those can be habits in our life and positive habits for our health. So on the screen here is a study by Seligman et al. That looked at the results of happiness from participants who were asked to write a letter to someone who was kind to them or showed them acts of kindness. And then they were asked to deliver that letter to that person. So they were asked to find someone in their life, big or small, doesn't matter, how, if they were and why they were grateful for something that they did, and then deliver it to that person. And so if you look on the screen on the graph right there, even 6 months after they wrote one letter and delivered it to someone, they had a higher happiness level than at the beginning. Even 6 months down the line. So I'm going to ask you, I've done this myself, and I would encourage you all to do it as well. Now, I'm not going to ask you to turn it in or anything, but find someone in your life that you're grateful for. It could be just a small act of kindness is, you brought me coffee one morning. Or it can be, maybe someone in your life that has a tremendous impact that led you down the path that you're on now. But actually give them that gratitude. Not only does it boost your happiness level, it'll boost theirs. You'll share a moment. You'll actually savor that moment. I've done this, and to this day, I'm still savoring that moment. And I can tell you, I did it years ago. Sharing that love, sharing that gratitude. Imagine if it were reversed and someone did that to you. Just wrote about how grateful they were to have you in their life. That would make you feel amazing. So we should be able to share that with other people as well. So write that letter of gratitude and then be mindful and specific in thanking them. So describe how their acts impacted your life positively and deliver that letter to them. I encourage you, if you can, to handwrite it. And if you feel safe and it's a comfortable environment, you can hand deliver it to them. If not, mail it to them. Or if they live too far away, or you don't want to do that, email or call and tell them whatever. But tell someone how grateful you are to them. And be specific. Don't just say, I'm so grateful to have you in my life. When people are specific, it truly hits home. It truly hits home. I also ask that you keep a daily gratitude journal, as I mentioned before. So in the daily gratitude journal, just take 5 to 10 minutes each day and write about something or someone for which you are grateful. This is for your own personal use. You're not sharing it with them. You're not sharing it with anyone. You're more than welcome to. But there are no right or wrong answers. All I ask is that you be mindful when you write. Don't just write to get it done, but actually be mindful and attentive to why you're grateful and what you're grateful for. And take time to savor that gratitude. So I'd like for you to keep that gratitude journal starting today. And each day, just take 5 to 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be super long. I mean, it could be as short as a couple sentences. It could be as long as a whole page, whatever you want it to be. However you feel is adequate enough to fulfill that gratitude. So some examples is write about a person in your life that you're especially grateful for and why. If you write that letter of gratitude, that could be your first journal entry. Or what is there about a challenge you're experiencing right now that you can be thankful for? Maybe that challenge or that problem that you face or that roadblock taught you a lesson to prepare for it again in the future. Or maybe you learned a new tool or trade because of that. Or what are you taking for granted about your day-to-day that you can be thankful for? Maybe it's the sun because it warms you during the day. It feeds your garden. It gives you life. Or list 5 people in your life who are hard to get along with and write down at least one quality for each person that you're grateful for. I love this one. just like those potatoes where you inscribe your name, except in this time, you're writing something positive that you enjoy about them, or something that you're grateful for, that one attribute that they have that you're grateful for. Turn those negative connotations into something positive. Or who has done something this week to help you or make your life easier, and how can you thank them? Just small little doses of gratitude go a long way in helping and improving our overall health. So with gratitude, I also want to leave with some mindful bites, and that's smiling. Obviously goes a long way with gratitude and happiness as well. So your mind has a deep and powerful connection with your body. When we're mentally stressed, our bodies mirror our mind by tightening up. And when we're mentally open and relaxed, our bodies can soften and relax. Now, the magical thing is that the relationship works the other way too. So if we make our body more relaxed, our mind will follow. And one of the best ways to do this is by smiling. So next time you're dealing with a difficult emotion or situation, try softening your face and smile. This will tell your mind that you're doing okay, even if you're not feeling happy at the moment, just by simply smiling. And looking ahead, we'll look at mindfulness, stress, and meditation. We'll do a little guided meditation next week. Again, that will take place a week from today at noon. So if you cannot attend, remember that they will be recorded and available for you to watch online. So if this is your first class and you missed this, and you missed last week's class, if you're in Jacksonville, they're available on our bridge page. And if you have access to that in Gainesville, you can access it that way too. There are also older recordings that go over the same material on the Gator Care website if you're in Gainesville and can't get behind the Jacksonville firewall. Don't forget to start your gratitude journal. It's very important to keep up with it. I think it's highly effective. Remember, it doesn't have to be super long. It shouldn't be super taxing. It should be something you look forward to doing and really create that positive impact in your life. As well as that letter of gratitude to someone, I can tell you it is a life-changing experience, something that I think this world needs more of. Remember to complete the post-class assessments each time. So on the next screen, you'll see the post-class assessment for today, as well as the QR code for last week in case you missed that. Remember that you have to complete that in order for us to count your attendance for your points if you're in Jacksonville for your wellness points. So make sure to do that. That way we know you have attended each class, because we can't keep track of who's dropping in and out of Zoom or who may watch it on demand as well. And if you don't want to answer it on these QR codes, you can hover your little camera phone. But if you don't have access to that, we will be emailing out to everyone who registered a copy of the presentation, as well as a link to complete that assessment. So don't stress if you don't want to do it right now on your phone. We will email you out a copy of the presentation as well as a link to the assessment. But I'll hang around if there are any questions, but I thank you all again for joining me and bearing with us through those technical difficulties in the beginning. We'll be back at it again next week, and I hope you all have a great rest of your week.